Now, I'm not trying to be the guy that cries horny, but I really do think this might be the horniest Severance episode yet. This is going to be a spoiler-filled review of Season 2, Episode 6 of Severance, Attila, so if you haven't watched it, save this video to watch later, and don't spoil this for yourself. Just come back when you watched it. I'm Real Slim Katie 25. Let's get into it. Now, even just in the first few shots of this episode, Adam Scott's got that Emmy in the bag. In the bag. I'm not going to try to pretend to be that movie TV reviewer who knows everything. I totally did not understand at the very beginning of the episode that we weren't going to be living them in real time like we normally do. I actually thought this was a really good showcase for Agavi. And we got that really interesting line that she dropped talking about how the two of them can be together again. That Gemma is still inside. And if anybody was going to know Severance technology, it would be her. So her saying that does lead me to think that there is a possibility that their true selves, their true personalities, whether they're manufactured or cloned or whatever, can be together and be happy sometime at the end of this show. Now, knowing the show, I don't think that will ever happen. But you need hope, right? And the biggest problem I think people have with Severance theories is these theories are always based on the audience member making the theories believing that what the show is telling them is true. But this is a show that's known for lying to its audiences. Hell, it's lying to its characters. And ultimately, she was a Lumen employee. I know in season 1 that they talked about, like, she went rogue and blah, 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 but, like, she could still work with Lumen. You don't know. Like, Cold Harbor is a file, but, like, what if Cold Harbor is just, like, the longer name for a mission involving Mark? Like, this study, whatever the fuck's happening between him and Helena. Ultimately, it's all a big experiment. I don't know. But I just wanted to plant the seed that Cold Harbor doesn't necessarily mean the file on the computer. It could just be a larger name for an experiment. And ultimately, I don't trust anybody. Except for any Mark S. Helly, we shared vessels. Maybe the most off-putting way you could have said that, but it was cute coming from you. Cute coming from you, Mark. It's so funny because whenever I'm talking about this show and I'm like, ugh, Mark is so cute. Mark is my name, too. So I'm always like, oh, Mark is so cute. I'm like, shucks, stop it. You're so nice. So the bathroom scene, though. Let's talk about it. Helly makes a really, really good point. Did Helena have sex with Mark just to drive a wedge between Helly and Mark? I don't think so. And here's why. First of all, I don't think Helen is that smart. Number one reason I don't think this is true. Helena didn't want to be Helly again. Helena did not want to go back in as an innie. Even after Irving threatened her life by trying to waterboard her to death, she thought she could go in undercover again and just like fly under the radar as if everybody wasn't just like super suspicious now and she didn't do a great job of hiding it the first time. I don't think that's very smart, Helena. Also, she questions whether her father would be okay with that, but ultimately it is her father calling the shots, and she doesn't seem to have any true power outside of, well, I take that back. She has power, but not nearly as much as her father. So ultimately, she's kind of just a player right now with no real pause in the game. She's essentially like, you're like, oh, well, she's the next in line, blah, 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 blah. Remember Roman Roy? Remember Kendall Roy? They basically fucking did nothing. It could have been anybody doing their jobs. You know what I'm saying? So we don't know how much or how little power she has. So let's not jump to conclusions. No, I think she fucked Mark because she wanted to, because it's a power move, because she doesn't know who to trust in her life, because she doesn't know if any of her relationships are real, because she comes from wealth. Like, I don't know. Because ultimately, we have not even had close to enough screen time with Helena to understand what her mind game is, because most of the time that we've even seen her on screen, it's her pretending to be somebody else. Also, Jesus, watching Milchick practice installing paper clips is depressing. It also makes me think, I've never thought about which way I've used a paperclip, so maybe I suck. Also, why did Dylan get another meetup with his Audi's wife if he was acting up so much in the last episode? I'm curious where that's coming from too, because they're talking about all of like Milchick's faux pas on the Ortbo. Is this something coming from Milchick? It can't be. It has to be coming from higher up. But what's their game? Also, later on in the episode, when they're looking through the files of all of the severed people, it says Dylan G is 58? That can't be right? Like, that has to be another Dylan G? Because he doesn't look 58. He looks 48. But we'll get more to those papers later. This is just such an interesting episode, too, because we see the emotional reaction of Helly, like, essentially dealing with kind of being emotionally cheated on by Mark reconciling with what that means for him, Dylan hugging, kissing for the first time. All of these themes in this episode just remind us that innies were never teenagers. They never had these formative experiences. They never had that. Like, yes, they have basic knowledge, but they don't have any memories of how to form interpersonal relationships. This is all firsts for them. Also, shout out to when Mark S. said, "Do you want me to describe what happened to you?" Yes, Mark! Yes, I did! And you didn't! Why are you blue-balling me? I'm the audience. And then Helly and Mark go to have sex for the first time. And it was so weird and luminy. Like, of course it was on fucking plastic tarps like you would use when you're murdering bodies. It's very interesting because we talk about this later in the episode with Irving and Bert about, like, innies deserving to feel loved. They have different souls. But what are the implications if a pregnancy occurs? Now, obviously, Helena doesn't give a shit. She already had unprotected sex with Mark. In fact, I love a lot of the theories that talk about how maybe that's part of their plan to make another tear baby. But what are the implications? Like, what do you do at that point? Like, as an outie, what do you do? Like, was it your body that consented to having sex? You know what I mean? Like, that's such an interesting thing, especially when there's two souls taking ownership of this body, if you're going with this kind of ideology that Bert and Fields are talking about. There's also the idea, like, okay, if it's just one person in two split consciousness, like, yourself made the decision regardless, but it's still really morally gray. Also, Mark S., you're such a consent king. And let's just be honest, Mark S. had no sex education. None. Zilp. Zitch. Zinny. None. He even says we shared vessels. But it was kind of just really natural for him to ask for consent. Not that fucking hard, guys. Seems natural. Work. Also, the shot of the desks at MDR, and just like nobody's fucking working. Good for you. Fuck Lumen. Sorry, not nobody's working. Seth is working overtime to try to sound normal. And this whole scene where Tramel Tillman is just like staring into the mirror, analyzing his own language. Jesus, he's so good. He's so evil. I heard the rumor that he might be recast, to take over Jonathan Majors as Kang in Avengers. I mean, nothing would make me more excited. But this scene supports this really exciting severance theory that Milchick is severed. Now, hear me out. I didn't come up with this theory. A lot of people have talked about this on the internet, so I can't pinpoint a specific person. But this idea that Seth is permanently severed, he's an innie and is allowed to leave the building and exit and stuff because he is just constantly focused and doesn't seem to have any moral or ethical questions about his actions, is very loyal to Lumen, much like Selvig, Kobelvig, an undying loyalty to the company. And I'm not saying that I think you would have to be severed for that to happen. I'm sure there's people who buy in completely. But especially in season 1, like, the people we see most, like, loyal to Lumen, being, like, Bert and Irving, are severed. So it makes me think it'd be easier to achieve that kind of bond in that way. Otherwise, I wonder what's in it for Seth Milchick. If he's not severed, like, why does he so truly believe that it's his life's mission? What's in it for him? Like, what is his life on the outside of work? I don't know. And can I say I literally can't pinpoint the last time I was hornier than when Adam Scott absolutely shoved Helly up that wall. Andrew, if you're watching, that's what I want. But I do get worried. Especially when his nose starts bleeding. Because that's what happened to Petey, bro. I mean, we're kind of forced to believe that Petey died from reintegration sickness. Honestly, with this show, it could be fucking anything. He could have been poisoned. He could have been killed remotely. I have no idea. Like, don't you think they could kill innies with the implant? Like, don't you think they could kill them if they wanted to? Like, it seems like something Lumen would do, like a self-destruct of the chip or some shit. But if we assume he died from reintegration complications, Mark could be in for a whole bunch of shit. And it does worry me. They have this awesome twist that he's still in the chair. He's still with Ragabi. But she seems to confirm, if we believe what she's saying, that these are very recent memories, even if they didn't happen in that moment, that those are true memories to any Mark. Also, now we get into the super weird-ass ham party with Fields, Bert, and Irving. This is so sussy. I have nothing with people who are poly. Good for you, bestie. But it is so confusing when you're trying to flirt with someone who literally doesn't really know you. A version of them knows a version of your partner. And you're, like, trying to get them to fuck or something. It's so weird. But seriously, it does, like, bring a whole new side of, okay, moral grayness of severance and romance between innies aside, How do their partners feel? Because their partner is being physically intimate, even if it's a separate part of the consciousness, with somebody else without their partner's consent. And there is no way to get that. And then in the reverse with Dylan and his wife, she's kissing up on Dylan G, which technically not cheating if you kiss your partner, but outie Dylan doesn't know that. So how are we feeling there? And don't even get me started. I feel like I could do a whole entire video on this like diner restaurant scene between Mark and Helena. First of all, I still don't understand what kind of mind games Helena's trying to play. Because on one hand, she's going over to him. He's pretending not to know her as Helly and Helena. And she's pretending not to know him as Helly. But they both know they fucked. And she knows that he hates the idea of her. And he knows that she can't be trusted. But they did fuck and there's still sexual tension. But he almost has this guilt of like feeling like he's cheating on Helly. Which is a good sign. Because I didn't like when they were flirting. It literally made me feel guilty watching it. But like such a mind fuck of a scene. And she's like trying to break him. And he knew it was dangerous. Like he knew. But also, bro, trying not to raise suspicion. But then you literally scream out of that parking lot? Okay, buddy. Okay. So then we have some really interesting stuff. I want to finish up on this last scene with Bert, Fields, and Irving. So Fields brings up stuff like your Lumen partner. So Fields knew that Bert had a partner at Lumen already? Bert didn't say that with Irving. Not like they really needed to disclose, but it kind of feels weird. Also, I'm not even going to get into the whole religious aspect of like, I joined because of Jesus and wanting my innie to redeem themselves and go to heaven. What did Outie Bert do that was so bad that he thinks he's definitely 1,000% going to hell? And why is the last shot of him standing at the door so shadowy and dark? I don't fucking trust him at all. So evil looking. Why are you doing this to me? I'm supposed to love Bert. I want them to fuck outside. But now I'm like, Bert. Also, I don't think it's a mistake. Bert tries to play this off as Fields being drunk, saying he worked at Lumen 20 years ago. And then Bert's like, psh, Severance didn't even exist back then. And then we're looking at these files, right? There's been some confusion about the dates of the show, like telling us different things or leading us different ways. But on the files, when they're looking at the files, the sheets of the list of severed employees, there were like several people. It said severed in 2008 or 2009. So what? Again, I think this is just a case of we can't necessarily take anything that Lumen says at face value. And I think our biggest problem as an audience is just trusting people. Too easy. Like, I know Bert worked on the severed floor, but like, how do we 1,000% know he was severed? Like, without a doubt in your mind, how do you know? I do think Bert was severed when they met. He seemed like just tonally very different. Seemed nicer, more refined. That's a little Severance humor for you. But also that could be it's just a case of like, I'm seeing you with your partner. This is a different version of you. You've code switched. Like, you're different. Now, I don't think Bert isn't severed. But, like, I don't trust him at all. And I do think he was working for Lumen for the past 20 years. I do think that's true. And that Fields was just getting kind of loose with his tongue. But I think that's true. I don't think he was getting fuzzy. So what do you think? Super nervous about Mark casually having a brain procedure in his basement. Didn't go super well for Petey. But I really don't think they're going to kill him off. I really, really don't think so. Not that the show hasn't been, like, shy to, like, moving its main characters away or doing dramatic things to its characters. But I don't think they would have the show without him. I really don't. But it's not looking good. The only thing looking really good are Adam Scott's chances for an Emmy after this episode, if you know what I'm saying. Also, I just want to give a shout out. This video is dedicated to everybody making Severance edits. You're literally getting me through my week. You're literally getting me through the week. I need you to know that. Especially the Hamilton ones. And there was an Into the Woods one. Oh my God. Anyways, what did you guys think of this episode? Literally, what are your theories? Please tell me everything. I just want to talk about the show so much, and I just want to hear what people think about the show. It's all I want to do is talk about the show. So let me know in the comments below. And please give this video a like if you enjoy this content. Me and my best friend Louie make videos like this all the time, so please subscribe if you really liked our content. It would mean the world to me. But I'm about to sever the end of this video. I'm going to get Loom on my way to bed. A little Severance humor. Anyways, I will see you later. Bye!